No bull. This guitar is bovine. Welcome back, troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. So I found this when I was researching the J-45 bats, and I was like, I don't know how old this thing is, if I missed it or if it's brand new, but I have to document another Gibson acoustic. Because get this one is cheaper than the bats, but in many ways it's actually cooler. This is known as the Gibson J-45 Bison Limited Edition. It's so much fun. They basically did everything that I wish the bats could have been, especially the headstock. Do you guys see that? That's a mother-of-pearl bison skull. You guys know I love animal-influenced guitars, so seeing it on the headstock on top of everything, that's even better than a decal back here. But you can't just have bison running up and down the entire length of the fretboard, because a double bison here I think just would look strange, but they tied it in with something else that bison are known for, arrowheads. I would assume that comes down to the natives that hunted them, so it's a perfect Thanksgiving episode. But moving on to the body, you've just got this beautiful vintage sunburst finish. I feel we could have had a couple of more bisons or arrowheads on our bridge, but at least we've got ourselves a fancy little pickguard here with additionals, and that made this a must review and document. So I told you earlier, it's cheaper than the $4,500 bats. These are $3,549 brand new. Just like the bats in flight, this was a limited edition only to Guitar Center and Musician's Friend, and is currently sold out unless they make more. I was lucky enough to get the last one that was located in a platinum room. So it's $1,000 cheaper. It's got more going for it. When I think of acoustic guitars, I think about country western style music. It's perfect for that. It seems like a no-brainer to me, especially since it's still a custom shop. So that only makes it like $550 more expensive than the regular Gibson USA J-45. Although you could also make the argument this guitar is kinda cliche. But that's okay. I think it's fun. But I did notice it has a black nut. So let's see, how old is this thing? 2024, so this must be a brand new model. I wasn't lacking too much on it. But outside of just the guitar, you also get a basic Gibson USA style case. Surprised the custom shop J-45s don't get a custom shop one, but whatever. Inside here, we get the COA with its official title, J-45 Bison, Gibson polishing cloth, pick holder, truss rod tool, case keys, pre-pack checklist, and a one-time use of humidipack. Let's go ahead and lasso this one over to the workbench to take an individual look at its parts and specs. Not gonna lie, the other reason I bought this guitar is because of that corny dad joke. What did the buffalo say to his son when he dropped him off for school? Bye, son. Although I'm personally struggling with, do I keep one of these? Is it really animal influenced? Because it's more so his skulls, not the actual living creature. But anyways, this is a slope shoulder dreadnought that utilizes a Sitka spruce top. You've got two pieces. You can see that center seam line right here. And it utilizes what they consider a belly up bridge. Kind of looks like some sort of an alien creature. Like it's got 6 different nose holes, 2 sparkly eyes, and then just a very serious face. But his teeth are actually the LR Bags pickup system that you can control using these 2 little knobs on the side of your sound hole for volume and tone. But your actual saddle here fits in right over top of it like so. I'd love to be able to tell you what material this and the bridge pins are made of, but unfortunately the spec sheet wasn't very detailed. If I had to guess, it's probably Graphtec. Although these do have a rather plasticky feel for it, but I had a great idea. What if they do this again, but do like a dog hair brown finish and use a real bison bone saddle, real bison bone bridge pins, and a bison bone nut? Just make everything bison. If you're gonna do it, go all the way. Here's an up-close look at our pickguard. So it's just like a regular J-45, except for it looks like they take some sort of a router bit and they go around it and create this design, or they hot stamp it, one or the other. And then they fill in those cavities with a white paint to expose your skull. Then you've got the arrowheads with your lasso / rope. But if you look, the design actually makes sense why it has like a binding layer to it, because it's also part of the rope. But let's break out the endoscope for the last time. You heard me right, we're officially discontinuing this endoscope because I have upgraded to a more professional boroscope. So I'm hoping that'll give us better image quality in the future so we can actually read pot codes and take a look at the wood a little bit more seriously. But you can see your curved edges all along here. You've got your bracing running all along the top and you can see the spruce wood grain. But here's our sound hole sticker. It reads J-45 Bison and has the serial number that we also saw on the back side of the headstock with our Gibson Custom. You can tell this mahogany has a lot of dancing to it. You can kind of see it on the back too, but being such a dark finish, it's hard to see. But this attached to your neck block right here is the battery pack for the LR bag system. Here's the bottom side of that system itself. It's kind of heart-shaped. Then if you go down here to where your strap button is sank in, that doubles as your output jack. And they've got some wire management going on here, and that eventually gets pinned off to the side and returns to our sound hole unit. But there's a Y splitter in there because another wire has to go through into the underpiece of the saddle, which is why they call it an under-saddle piezo system. So mahogany back inside, Sitka spruce top, 3-ply binding along that edge. Then you also have a similarly done rosette. However, I noticed something interesting here. The guitar, its vintage sunburst finish, actually has a little bit of antiquing to it where the binding has yellowed. Here that is compared to a pure white paper. But the rosette is stark white. So instead of everything just looking the same kind of yellowed over hue, you've got this standing out that kind of matches your pickguard design, as well as the mother of pearl and saddle, whereas the binding is going more towards the tobacco-y inside. As far as our fretboard, this is just rosewood. It conditioned beautifully, but I noticed something as I was taking it over to the workbench. The inlays are not the same throughout the guitar. And I'm not just talking about the 12th fret being arrowheads like I was earlier. The 3rd and 5th fret are quite large for obvious reasons. The spacing gets smaller, but you'll notice this actually has the black area of where like the nose was. But then once we move on from this design, it shrinks a little bit. They don't do that small little detail. And then they kind of make it look like a pincher bug. Or oh my goodness, it could also be a spaceship. Put your little alien guy right here. That's his blaster shooter. You can see the stark differences between those two. And just to clarify, that actually is carved out. I'm surprised they just didn't put the black in between there to make the inlay process easier. But then from here, arrowheads, and then just your tiny bisons without any black or cutouts in between. So I'm curious, do you guys think that's laziness or is that part of the design? Like, are there different kinds of bisons that have different skull layouts? I mean, I don't know. I'm not a big bison guy. There actually are a couple of bison farms around me, but unfortunately, we just barely missed the cutoff for tours because playing this with some bison behind me would be a lot of fun. So we'll just have to mimic that with a green screen. But our nut measure is 1.72 inches, increasing to 2.05 at the 10th. First fret neck depth 0.84, and triple eights at the 10th. Featuring a 24 3/4 inch scale with 12-inch fretboard radius. Here's a look at that neck profile at the 1st fret and the 12th fret. It nearly has a soft V shape right away, but then it transitions into a more traditional C. On the workbench, it doesn't feel quite as big as the bats, maybe just a little bit slimmer, but definitely still a C shape. But having that really rosy brown fretboard contrasts greatly against the dark brown on the back. I found this rather interesting. They don't actually have finish on the side of the nut, and that's probably because this is using the same style of, I believe, Graphtec nut that the Dave Mustaine custom shop Flying V's had. And in those reviews, we learned that the nitro doesn't actually stick to that nut, and it can cause flaking, which caused many of those things to be returned. So either Guitar Center tore that off to prevent that, or Gibson learned and did it themselves. But here's a look at our headstock. What inlay did they use up here? It's the 3rd and 5th fret style. And you know what? I think that's how they got away with it. So these are about, what, 0.86? And yeah, that's roughly about the same. So I think they just took an extra one of those and threw it into the headstock, and what a fantastic idea. For me to review an acoustic, just know it's spoken to my heart very deeply. And if it didn't have it on the headstock, I don't know if I would have purchased this one. But that is done up in mother of pearl, as is the Gibson logo. And it's important to note that these are also mother of pearl in the fretboard. I was really expecting pearloid since it was $1,000 cheaper than the bats, but pleasantly surprised. Moving on to the back, in certain lighting situations, you can actually see through to the mahogany wood grain. But being a Guitar Center exclusive model, this was a floor demo unit. So we do have some scratches on this one, especially some over in this area. And you've got some light ones over here. So not perfect condition, just about what you would expect as a floor model. We've got some swirls over here too, but this just continues on our brown paint job. And there's a better look at our output jack / strap button. And then I'm not sure about the truss rod on this one. Most rods that I've used, sometimes, yeah, they make like a chink sound as you move them, but this one, listen to it. I've never had a buzzing truss rod like that. That's kind of strange. But then again, I'm new to acoustics. Feel free to fill me in if they are somehow different from electric. I measure about 4 3/4 inches deep for the body. Now we can move on to the neck. We don't have a heel cap or anything too crazily fancy back here. Just more brown and mahogany. Our Gibson Custom Shop decal, Grover tuners, and our serial number, dating it to the 236th day of 2024. All said and done, our horn friend weighs 4 pounds, 13.2 ounces. Let's go ahead and hear how she sounds. go, the 2024 Gibson J-45 Bison. It just kind of came out of nowhere, but I'm glad I stumbled upon it because usually I pass over most Gibson acoustics just because acoustic really hasn't been my thing. But I've started to warm up to them with a few of these cool limited editions. This one's just got a lot of cool stuff to it. Now, as far as the tone and playability, it's that typical kind of darker Gibson acoustic sound. So if that's what you're after, a little bit of punch within it, the J-45 might be a model for you. I was having so much fun with this one, I took it up to the family. We started running around the house having a good time, playing some country stuff. So for the time being, knowing that they're sold out, I think I'll hold on to this one in my collection, just for some fun. Alright, Troglodytes, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care. But all said and done, our horny friend weighs 4 pounds.